Lots of players would agree that Druid has some of the most iconic subclasses of the entire game of D&D. But what if I told you that while having one of the most memorable body horror subclasses of the entire game, in addition to having one of the most D&D poster child subclasses of the entire game, that Druids actually have a secret third sauce that is the key to creating a consistently memorable character? Hi everybody, I'm Willowwares, and welcome to Classcraft. Classcraft! Still don't have a song, where we talk about different D&D classes and how to get the most fun out of them at the table. In traditional Willowwares fashion, we'll cruise through some of the better-known subclasses and rank them on their general spookiness. Note down what makes each subclass special, and then dive into how we can create a crunchy, Whole Food shopping, tree-hugging druid that will even impress the most corporate-pilled player in your party. So let's begin. Druids are the nature-centric class of D&D, where warlocks get their powers from signing shady contracts, wizards get their powers from spending too much time at the library, Druids get their power from touching grass. Something I'd love to try one day! Mechanically, Druid's main resource in action rotation revolves around Wild Shape, when you can transform into a beast. This resource is utilized in many different ways, and when you hop from subclass to subclass, it isn't even limited to just shapeshifting. So many circles, it's basically a sphere. It's like the Earth is a sphere, and the Earth is natural, or whatever. Okay. Circle of the Land. This is the, oh yeah, I listen to all kinds of music type druid. You have a bunch of land types to pick from, each one giving you a set of spells that are advantageous in certain situations. There's a Magic the Gathering joke in here somewhere, and I hope someone in my audience is brave enough to play D&D and Magic the Gathering, and they will make this joke. This is a very wizard-adjacent class because it has a large focus on spellcasting, has a vegan version of arcane recovery in the form of natural recovery, and I've also seen plenty of players sit on the backline playing Circle of Land like kind of a wizard usually does. However, there's still that beefiness offered from Wild Shape, especially at the overall druid feat at level 18 that allows you to cast spells without material components while still in your Wild Shape form. I would say that out of the box, this druid subclass is decidedly a D- for creepiness. This absolutely doesn't mean it's a bad class, as always. In fact, if you want to feel that natural if you want to feel the natural feel ew, of druidness, but not focus so much on shapeshifting, I would argue that this is the class for you. And if I put a little brain power on it, there's a world where you could reflavor the different biomes to be creepier, like say the Underdark land spells or whatever. So yeah, D- and we're moving on. Circle of the Moon. Ow! This, to me, is one of the most D&D poster child subclasses of the game. Some would even argue it's been a balance favorite as well. Having the ability to combat Wild Shape as a druid is really useful, but it's also giving you more of what makes the entire class cool. More focus on that unique aspect of shapeshifting. Even though it wasn't officially announced for the recent D&D movie, I bet any amount of money that's which subclass the druid is supposed to be. Circle of the Moon can have some creepy elements, as all shapeshifting can. Like, for example, if you dig into the process of shifting as something painful or grotesque, or if you can flavor the basic animal stat blocks to be creepier versions of themselves. I become Godzilla! I'm a big scary lizard now! Or this is the subclass for anyone that wants the werewolf flavor but you don't get werewolf pecs. You just you just turn into a wolf. Like, wolves aren't limited to the Circle of the Moon, of course, but come on, the flavor aspect is pretty much born for this. But really, I think the flavor for this class leans more into the classic fantasy trope of the nature-based magician who can turn into a bunch of cool beasts. Screaming in pain every time you turn into a hawk feels a bit silly anyways, so C- for creepy, but with a lot of potential. Cretential. You've got cretential. Not another Creed joke, nope. Circle of Spores. So remember when I said that druids had the most memorable body horror subclass? While having one of the most memorable body horror subclasses of the entire game, I meant this one. This is the section of D&D Tube that houses the most Last of Us B-roll. There's always going to be something unnerving about mushrooms. Tell me the name of God, you fungal piece of shit.
Can you feel your heart burning? Can you feel the struggle within? The fear within me is beyond anything your soul can make. You cannot kill me in a way that matters.
I'm not f***ing scared of you. Maybe because sort of like distant space or deep sea, fungi and mushrooms represent a bit of the unknown in terms of how much we have yet to discover, but also because there's an inherent connection to death and decay. Circle of Spores druids are just as death positive as any Last of Us clicker. According to the Forgotten Realms wiki, quote, Circle of Spores druids did not believe undead were abominations of nature, but rather a third alternative to life than death. Unquote. Their fungal infestation feature even lets you raise a little zombie of your own. A lot of druids are usually pretty centric on the natural life is important things, so this is an excellent class if you're looking for a druid flavor that's willing to bend the rules a little bit on that front. Mechanically, they work with a sort of aura that builds power as they level up, called their symbiotic entity, that reaches out from them as a cloud of spores, helping enact their will. All in all, a very creepy subclass, really nothing I would change flavor-wise. A++, like little spores all floating around. Circle of Wildfire. Here's the other kinda potentially creepy flavored subclass, at the very least, the druid that sits next to the Circle of Spores druid in the kinda dark and twisted part of the cafeteria. You get a primal spirit of Wildfire that basically acts as a pet. I'd actually be interested if anyone who plays Ranger in my audience, particularly the pet-based subclasses. For all you new kids out there, that's Bee-Mancer, Beast Boy, and Dragon Tails. What they think of this class as far as mechanics go. But to me, it's a pretty flavorful class with all the tasty utility of a pet class. So the big drawback of Circle of Wildfire, in my opinion, is right there in the name. Having a class that's really focusing down on one type of damage can be tricky sometimes. Obviously, there are ways around this, but it usually requires something like taking the Elemental Adept feat, and I don't know, I feel a certain type of way about needing to pick a feat to make an entire class really work. However, depending on the campaign, it can be seen as more balanced, and honestly, the idea of a fire-based druid is fun as, once again, kinda spins the theme of the class on its head while still honoring it. And as for the classic Willoware's creepy factor, I'd give it a B-. Spookiness. Burning stuff down is always scary, of course, and I haven't met a Circle of Wildfire druid that doesn't have a tragic backstory, so good job. Circle of Stars.
So I look up at the stars to guide me.
Circle of Stars is flavorful and offers so many tasty choices. It's subclass flavoring and design that I've always had a soft spot for, so I'm trying really hard not to unnecessarily glaze it. Much like the Circle of the Land, you get a lot of choices here, but instead of spells, think of it more like Path of the Wildheart Barbarian, where you can sort of pick what combat role to fill per fight. I've heard some people say that even though this class is super fun, it doesn't connect with the druidic themes of nature, and I have to disagree. Looking at ancient history, our ancestors were always looking at the stars, probably because they didn't have TikTok. And understanding their movement helped us navigate nature from the dense forests and even across our vast oceans. Overall, spookiness factor ranks pretty low though. Cosmic horror of the stars is certainly an option for this subclass, but I feel it really shines when the player leans into the more natural, astral themes of this subclass. Fortune telling and astrology certainly can have its creepy moments, and I do think that the class uses these themes pretty heavily, but it's kind of hard to really ring in that creepiness home when your bread and butter wild shape form for this class is the midpoint of the Sailor Moon transformation sequence. But what makes this class special to me is that it once again stretches the concept of what a druid class can be. So I give it a D- spookiness, but with a big gold star that says I like it and I wish I could play it all the time. And let's go to the planetarium together. Circle of the Sea. I really want to like this subclass. It's sea themed, which is cool. You harness the destructive nature of storms and water, very cool, and a very neat druidic twist. But maybe this is because the other druid subclasses offer so much, my eyes kind of glaze over with this subclass. However, I'm no dummy. Looking at this subclass from a mechanics perspective, it's absolutely still worthwhile. They get some pretty beefy spells, and much like the Circle of Spores, they have their own little flavor cloud that builds strength as they level up. Only this one's water. Splish splash. Oh, I'm so scary. Sorry. But in all seriousness, this emanation can cause bonus action damage, and that's nothing to sneeze at, nothing to mist water out of your nose at. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this subclass, because while mechanically it works, there's just something missing that I can't quite put my finger on. Is it my fault? Is it me? Is it because something isn't over-designed? I hate it? Why do we need to add complication on top of things to be fun? Anyways, more importantly, creepy factor is F. The last time I thought water spray was creepy was when I was on the old Alien movie Scary Ride and they had a little mister in the back of your seat that would spray your neck with old dirty theme park water. water, and I think that's the last time I was afraid of vapor. Did I miss your favorite subclass? Let me know in the comments. But be kind or I will cry. So be responsible. Only you can prevent Willoware's doom scrolling through mean comments. So it looks like we have a lot of nice little bits and pieces to pick from for our creepy druid, but what about media? That's right, everyone, we're back at the moving pictures once again to see what we can snag for inspiration to get the best possible character we can. Avatar is a beloved IP that's based around bending, where different people are attuned to one of the 4 elements: cheese, tomato, onion, and banana pepper. What makes this world interesting to me is how far this bending is actually pushed. With lots of other elemental IPs, you have fire powers, yeah, they shoot fire, and that's kind of where it stops. But Avatar pushes it further. Let's take earthbending, for example. Sure, they cause giant landslides and throw up massive pillars of rock, that's expected. But earthbenders get super granular, and yes, that is a pun, I'm sorry. Bending sand to move ships across the desert, or concentrating on the material makeup of metal to bend it to their will. And this is a subject I'm saving for a future video to really dive into, but just as a teaser, world building really shines when you explore all possibilities. Don't just scratch the surface level, chase the idea down multiple pathways. Waterbenders moving tides, sure, that's great, but waterbenders moving blood? Now that is a cool idea. You see this kind of thing in lots of superhero media too, because the writers need to chase down all the different possibilities of powers and what they can do to assist with keeping storylines fresh. And this is something the Druid class is chock full of. A class that draws power from nature quite literally opens you up to the world. Supernatural. And that's what we in showbiz call a key change, everybody. Supernatural is a show about 2 brothers, Dean Supernatural and Sam Supernatural, as they chase down different ghosts, ghouls, and girls, am I right, boys? To keep the people of various parts of American towns safe, but with increasingly a huge focus on the Great Lakes states. Side note, you can look up a map of where all the Supernatural episodes are filmed, and there is a weird concentration around the Great Lakes. And I don't know why, but that's where they are. That's where all the supernatural stuff happens in the United States, I guess. But what's compelling about this in relation to a druid is this idea of a monster of the week being chased down by monster of the week experts. They've been taught by their father to assess monsters like hunters do. What telltale marks do the beasties leave behind? What are their weaknesses? Definitely not girls, am I right? They're detectives using clues and their expertise to hunt down the monsters. And in a weird kind of twist, they're almost druidic, using passed down lore, wisdom, and knowledge of their environment to solve the case. And like and subscribe if you think early 2000s television is just a gold mine for D&D discourse. But what about that secret sauce I promised? The secret sauce about the druids that gives them so much gosh darn potential. Well, don't worry, I got a whole bottle right here. Well, what we have to do is look back on the history of druids themselves, and not just druids from the book, I'm talking druids, opening up a history book. Lots of popular sources on druidness in ancient times are through the lens of conquerors or people that were in conflict with the druids, so you're gonna have to take most accounts with a grain of salt. That's not foreshadowing, by the way. The word salt is not foreshadowing, and you shouldn't zoom in on it. So last time we took druid history super literally and super seriously. I think we got the Wicker Man remake, so just be careful. But one thing that can be agreed upon is this. Druids were so much more than just the guy who would walk up to a tree and be like, yes, this sure is a tree.
You can tell that it's an aspen tree because of the way it is.
Also, quick side note, totally just talking about druids in a historical sense as it relates to D&D. It's not a commentary on modern druids at all. Anyways, let's continue. Druids were leaders, people that had active influence in their societies. Circle of the Land druid kind of flirts with this flavoring in its initial description, in my opinion, but it could be pushed so much more. Some accounts even claim druids had the power to excommunicate people from their communities, or even presiding over sacrifices, though there's quite a bit of back and forth on that matter, and I am not a historian, so don't quote me on that. Quote me on that you actually can't quote me on anything. How about that? Overall, there's been a bit of a watering down of druids. While they gain the cool hermit that knows every tree's favorite color vibe, they've lost the charismatic, intelligent leader, the almanac of the community, so to speak, the expert. And hey, make no mistake, the reason why druids were respected was because of their connection to nature in a spiritual sense, but also in a knowledge sense. It would be kind of the same way we respect scientists today. They were probably the leaders people look to explain the unpredictable, to help them make important decisions. And because we live in a society today that has new ways to explain that aspect of the world, we now look at them through the lens that's closer to the cool dude that carves ocarinas and sells them at the Ren Fair. It's kind of like the bard, who used to have this incredibly important role in leadership in the sense that they were the historians and the record keepers. And while I absolutely adore the fantasy tropes modern D&D often brings to the table, and I love the classic granola wizards of our game that are the Druids, I think we can inject a little history into our characters. This is not a negative towards our wonderful existing Druids that play into the classic fantasy. Don't get your feelings hurt. I love your shoes. I'm now giving you a new shoe option. New Birkenstocks. New Tiva sandals for your Druidic hike through your campaign. Instead, let's focus on how Druids, more than some classes in D&D, are linked to the very world they come from. There's nature in that, sure, but nature is also ruled by laws. What's stopping you from creating a Druid that's so incredibly connected to your DM's homebrew world, for example? This is sort of what I'm getting at with the Earthbender example from Avatar. In lots of other fantasy tropes, people that are in control of Earth are often stocky, maybe not as smart or fast as others in the group, but in Avatar, you have a group of benders that can dig into the very makeup of a new man-made material, understand and control it, and use the laws of nature to do so. So, in short, what is that secret sauce? It's the understanding that a class who gains power from nature is a class that has a deep understanding of existence itself. Start from that point and you have an endless amount of character potential. The Druids of ancient times were experts in their field. In a campaign, why not make your Druid a scientist who can not only identify plants but talk to them? Why not make them a leader with a cold and exacting sense of justice, all stemming from their understanding of the vicious justice system that is nature itself? All in all, for our new Druid, let's grab a whole bucket of that secret sauce, add a dash of unique wild shaping, and focus on a force of nature that we often overlook. So here's a spooky example. Sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this story. My name is Harrow Alderwood, and I've been in the woods for a few days now. Though it's hard to navigate through the underbrush, the thick branches shelter me from the cold winds that breathe through from the sea. The salt air fills my lungs and calms me every morning before I fully awake and remember my fate, that I am hopelessly lost. But you know exactly where I am, because I woke up to find my journal flipped open to this very page. You've read it. Day 10. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out what to say to you. I've walked for a long time through these woods. My nails are worn thin from scraping away at trees to eat the bugs and little fresh water that collects in the bark in the morning. I'm so thirsty all the time. Though I try to find my way to the shoreline, I always get turned around. I walk past the trees marked with my nails at least 10 times. Are you doing this? To my mind? Day 16. I saw you finally, crouched by the fire, eyes like two burning embers that lit the edges of your teeth. As soon as I grabbed my staff to cast, you were gone. You're waiting me out. You're waiting until I'm weak enough, until my fingers are worn to the bone from hunger. Do you feed off my fear? Do you think it's a game? Day 24. It has been a long time since I've eaten a full meal. How about you? There's nothing to eat. I tried to drink from the morning dew today, and it was laced with salt. I can see it in the soil sparkling like stars, the little seeds of death. Day 31. You're tired. Took you long enough. That spell you thought would turn me around, it must have taken quite a bit out of you. I know you're confused. You should know that everyone feels scared at this part. You're not the first demon I've lured here. Breathe it in. It stings, doesn't it? All that salt in the air. My name is Harrow Alderwood. My nails are worn thin from scraping salt off the bones of every demon I've ever killed. My lungs are new things, lined with crystals that breathe out shimmering diamond dust that draws out every whisper of water and impurity and miserable life you thought was your own. And I know exactly where you are. The Circle of Salt Druids are patient, methodical, and deadly. They can be as exacting as moving quantities of salt throughout their body onto their skin like armor, and as terrifying as causing earth-shattering quakes. Circle of Salt Druids boast a complete mastery over their own bodies. It is said that they can slowly release nutrients within themselves over months at a time, allowing them to exist in the wilds for long periods. Others boast an otherworldly resistance to diseases and deadly quantities of poison. Like the mineral they take their name from, these druids have a large focus on preservation in all things. Many Circle of Salt Druids become historians and archivists, though make no mistake, a Circle of Salt Druid is usually more interested in embalming something in salt, rather than reviving it. In fact, a Salt Druid tends to focus on one singular aspect of their magic or studies with frightening intensity. Stern leaders, tireless hunters, and resilient survivalists. The Circle of Salt Druid is a powerful ally and a dangerous enemy. This circle of magic often attracts quiet, calculating personalities, as the mastery of minerals and erosion is a study of time itself. Patience is rewarded with power. And hey, we did it! We did it. And guess what? As thanks for sticking through the vid, I've got the Circle of Salt subclass for free. Super free in the description. That's super free. For my patrons, I have constructed a gorgeous Circle of Salt staff for you or your players as thanks for supporting me. And if you're new, feel free to check out my other videos. I've got other classes and tips and plenty of free stuff. See you soon, everybody. It's the Circle of Salt.